Help me grow, fast or slow, as long as I know you're digging for gold. Help me learn, soft or stern, as long as I know you're digging for gold. Life's a movie, the ultimate trip. You should have been told you'd be digging for gold. Hello, my friends, and welcome once again to another episode of Digging for Gold. I'm Dan Goldberg, and we have with us today a new friend of mine, Peter Wolf, and he's done so much in his life that for episode 23, I had to bring notes because he's a founder of a company, Serrala, which is based in Germany, in Deutschland.
Yes.
And he talks about global treasury. He talks about liquidity, working capital, strategies, strategic innovation. He's an advisor to Fortune 500 companies, and he speaks on finance and in-house banking and technology. I got through that, boy. I tried to remember that. I stood in front of the mirror trying to remember that. I figured I should bring some notes. So, Peter, tell me a little bit about how you started the company, how it became Serrala, and then what your passion is now. And what the company, just the basics of what the company does, what you do, and your passion.
So first, I'd like to start by thanking you for having me.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. I think you gave me far too much credit there. I've read your resume, so I know what I'm comparing myself against. And actually, in watching your podcast, I think seeing your interview of Professor Hornberger interviewing you and you interviewing him, two of the most compelling interviews and discussions, at least on topics that are very much near and dear to my professional career. So talking about myself, how did I start out? Well, gosh, I mean, I think an interesting theme that you talk about, and actually I should say that my son is in one of your courses at Temple.
He is indeed.
In the Entrepreneur in the 21st Century course. And that's how I even came to know about you. He came and asked me what I thought about this entrepreneur concept. And embarrassingly, I hadn't really even heard that term, entrepreneur. And I was kind of embarrassed. I looked it up and I'm like, wow, that's the perfect term for entrepreneur in-house, right? Under someone else's capital. And I look back through my career and I see that as being exactly, that is the thread that's gone through from the very beginning. So I guess if I look back, when I was young, I was very entrepreneurial. I was not very good at academics, which I liked how you talked about failing out and then coming back from Temple. That's good stuff.
I had a little trip in the Army in between.
Me as well. So interesting comparatives there. But I had probably 12 different jobs before I was 19. Wow. I wasn't very good at school, but everything from cook to bartender to landscaper. I was even a magician. For birthday parties. Interesting.
That's very
I don't know how that.
That's very
Marlo
cool.
the Magnificent. I don't know where that came from, but that was short-lived.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. So
don't make the water disappear, though, because I'm thirsty.
Yeah. Right. So after that, I through a meandering course of path, not a straight line, I ended up graduating from University of Pennsylvania, and I became a financial advisor, which had been my dream since I was little. I watched my uncle sit on the beach reading a newspaper, and he was reading the stock page, and I'd look at it and couldn't understand a thing, and I thought that was so interesting.
That is cool.
And I wanted to be a financial advisor, right? So when I graduated from Penn, I became a financial advisor. I did that for a couple of years, but it wasn't my passion. It just wasn't driving me the way I wanted it to. I started a real estate business, which I grew, was renovating and flipping properties and then turning them into rental properties. Ultimately, I went back to school. I sold my business in financial advising, my book, and I kept the real estate stuff, but I went on and got my graduate degree, MBA in Finance Management Information Systems, started working for SAP. It was one of the largest software companies in the world. Stayed there for 2 years. It was a perfect company for me. They were a German-based company. Right. I spoke German. I lived in Germany. I studied in Germany. And it seemed like the perfect long-term commitment place for me. But I got an opportunity to leave and start a company with 3 other guys who were some of the smartest guys I know. And I was fortunate enough to be asked to come along. And we started a company in 2001 and grew the leading boutique consulting and software firm in North America for SAP, corporate treasury, finance, debt investment, derivatives, consulting. And we, over the course of 16, 17 years, we generated about $180 million in revenue.
Wow.
And ultimately sold that company in 2016 for tens of millions of dollars, and then became owners in the new company we sold into. I was a much smaller owner, but I was still an owner. So at that point, I was entrepreneur, starting out early years, entrepreneur, building my own business in financial advising, and then moving on to starting my own company. And then when we sold, I was, again, in a bigger organization, but a smaller piece of it. And we became Serrala. We ultimately unified a bunch of companies with private equity, and now we're leading innovator and deliverer of software solutions in the treasury, finance, and what we call financial value chain space. So I'm excited that I've had these opportunities. But if you look at that path, it was kind of entrepreneur as a young person. Then as a financial advisor, it was this combination entrepreneur-intrapreneur, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you work inside an institution that's the one footing the bill for the capital, but you're investing your time and you're building your own small business. On the side, I was doing the entrepreneur stuff, the real estate, and then moved on, started my own business. I was always passionate for that, and so I'm still passionate for that. That's stuff I get up every day, excited about the opportunity and going into new technologies and developing solutions for my clients. And it's exciting stuff.
It's great stuff. It really is. It's very cool to wake up passionate and knowing that you're building something. I love it.
Really, I'm sure there's so many quotes about this, kind of silly, right? If you're passionate about what your work, then it's never work, right?
That's right. That's right.
And it really is true. I think there is a little bit of a mischaracterization of that. A lot of times, though, people say, "Well, go find your passion, and then you'll never work a day in your life." But I think a lot of times you go into a profession and maybe it's not your passion, but when you work 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours, you become a guru in that, and everybody looks to you, and you have respect and praise, and you're when you walk into a room, they're like, "Oh my God, he's here." I mean, you can become passionate about something like that, right? So it's not always that you're passionate when you begin. You can formulate that passion. There are guys who work in accounting who I could never imagine would be passionate, but they're the gurus of accounting, and you walk into a room and they're like, everybody's like, "Oh, they're awesome. That guy knows his stuff," right? How can you not be passionate?
It's true.
So,
it's true. And interesting enough, when you say you'll never work a day in your life, you still work.
Oh my God.
You work probably even more.
Exactly.
No,
and especially if you own your own company, right?
There's
you
no
own
doubt
your own
about it.
company, you're working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, no doubt. It's that's the commitment, but the results you get, the reward you get is amazing. And I think I think the thing is about surrounding yourself with the right people. One of the things that's probably been most important in my life, and where I feel so strongly about, is that you always should be with people who are striving harder than you, smarter than you, know more than you. If you're in the room and you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're someone who's really aspiring, you're in the wrong room. And so I've always worked at building teams that had people that I always looked at and wanted to emulate, that wanted to be like them. I wanted people that would drive me, make me feel like I want to be a better person. Yeah,
that's what I have here.
Yeah, interesting.
First, I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
Then I want you to get into that.
Okay.
Into leadership.
Yeah, sure.
And those philosophies behind it that you have. What is corporate treasury?
So corporate treasury, I think when people mostly think about treasury, kind of general populace, they think of the terms they know. So you think of treasury, the United States Treasury, right? In the United States, a Department of Treasury is responsible for collecting the revenue. They run the IRS. They collect the revenue in. They're responsible for paying the obligations, so they have to make sure they have the cash on hand. That means if they don't have the cash, they issue bonds or they issue some security so that they can raise those funds. And they're responsible for safeguarding the financial institution of our country.
Right.
So that's the public sector. If you take that and move it into the private sector, you're essentially talking the same thing when you say corporate treasury. Corporate treasury is responsible for the cash and liquidity a company has, and what that means is the ability to make payments on the obligations. Like if I have invoices today, I got to pay them today. If I have invoices in a month, I need to know I'm going to have the money available to pay those in a month. So that's a responsibility. A core responsibility is having that liquidity to pay. But they're also responsible for managing the capital structure. So again, like the government, if I need money, then I either need to borrow it or I need to issue some securities, stocks, what most people think of. They're responsible for that capital structure.
Because you can't print it.
You can't
owe
the government. That's a very,
and they're not
very
making
unique
pennies.
experience.
They're not making pennies
them anymore. I heard that in Philadelphia. So they're focused on that financial realm and managing the risk too. They have to manage the exposure, foreign currencies exposure, right, to convert it back to the United States or U.S. dollars, on their counterparty risk. What if my counterparty doesn't pay me, my vendor or my customer, or my vendor or my counterparty for some kind of contract? Those are important aspects that they're responsible for, and ultimately the financial security of the organization, right? But in Serrala, what we do is we're focused on what we call the entire financial value chain. So at the hub in the center is corporate treasury, responsible for money going in and coming out, and how do you deal with it in between. But going upstream, you have AP, AR, accounts receivable, where you're collecting your money in for products and goods and services you sold. And on downstream, you have these payments going out for accounts payable to banks. You need to communicate. You need to send your payments to your counterparties and your vendors. And so we manage that whole entire string. And we're actually the only company in the B2B space, business to business space, in the fintech area that focuses on and delivers the entire suite of that financial value chain. So we deal with everything up and downstream from that treasury and the treasury focus in the middle in optimizing it, enhancing it, improving it, reducing the risk for it. So we design, develop, and deliver the technology, the technological solutions that enable us to, or enable our clients to, improve their profitability and their performance and reduce their risk.
You work with their controllers and their accountants?
We
and
do.
So forth?
Well, we work with, so we're always, everything underlying is accounting, right? So we're always working with the accountants, but we really work with the office of the CFO. So corporate, the CFO is Chief Financial Officer, and we say the office of the CFO a lot to talk about that full financial value chain, because ultimately CFO is responsible for every aspect of that. And so everything that we focus on really falls under that realm for the most part. And we'll deal with the treasurer, assistant treasurer, the VP of finance, AP, AR, directors, and whatnot, and accounting as well. And we help them to identify, help them to understand the challenges and risks they have, and help them to identify solutions. And really, my team, which is Serrala Treasury Services, we're primarily a consulting wing. We help them to identify how they bring together people, processes, and technology to deliver comprehensive systems that will allow them to achieve their objectives. Again, reduce their risk, improve their performance, improve their visibility to information to make decisions faster and to be more competitive. And that's what we've been doing for Serrala for 40 years, and for E5 Solutions, which was my original company that became part of Serrala, was since 2001, so 24 years.
Wow, and you make sure that their AR is higher than their AP.
You got to make sure your AR is higher than your AP. That's the idea.
Or you're out of luck.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
Actually, you don't want your AR to be too far out. You want to be collecting on that. You don't want it sitting out there. You want to accelerate
your
the
AR,
of that
meaning
AR.
that it actually does come in.
Yeah.
That you receive
generating
it.
that revenue. For sure.
So to do that, you have to build teams.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that you're passionate about leadership. You're passionate about your teams. I have it right here. You're passionate about action, discipline, getting everybody on board, building things so that there's a smoothness to everything that you're doing. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wish it was a smoothness to everything I did, but I think you
potential smoothness.
The objective of smoothness.
Yeah.
I think when I think about my leadership style, my leadership principles, I consider myself to be direct, extremely passionate, extremely loyal, and performance driven. And what I have tried to focus on is building teams, high performance, high-powered teams that are motivated to succeed and excel. And by setting high bar of commitment and excellence to drive them to an objective and goal, a common objective and goal. And I am very demanding, but I don't demand anything of others that I don't demand of myself or expect of myself. And ultimately, I am absolutely adamant about accountability, absolute accountability. I am focused on mutual respect and creating an environment in which everyone can contribute, grow, and ultimately achieve together. And that's kind of the foundation, I would say, those concepts together. But ultimately, it comes down to building high-performance teams.
It's interesting you should say that because I teach a graduate course exactly for that topic.
Yeah.
On that topic, high-performing teams.
Yeah, it's a critical aspect because I've been doing this for 30 years, 25 in this space,
right.
and I've worked for some of the largest, most iconic companies in the world, right? So Microsoft, Chevron, Walmart, UTC, RTX, Booking.com, Target. I mean, these are massive companies, and
right.
my team and my partners, before they retired, they're all retired. We worked and delivered and strategized and were strategic partners with these organizations over decades. So long-term relationships. I'm working right now for Chevron. I did their original in-house banking implementation in 2004. And right now, my team is migrating them to SAP's brand new in-house banking, the next generation in-house banking solution. And in between, we did lots of iterations of expansion and transformation. So it's a great experience to work for a company that size, right? $260 billion in revenue, and help them transform over time to still be doing that and build those kinds of relationships. But it comes from building these teams, the high-performing teams. And what you have to do is you have to pull the right people together. A good example of that is two of the guys who were in my leadership team. I got three guys who are in my leadership team, and I want to give them a shout out. It's John Thacker, Gilles Gilmart, and Dion Otto. And I pursued two of those guys for 5 years each. When I worked with them, saw how high performing they were. I'm like, that guy, I got to work with that guy, right? And it took me that long to get them into my company at different stages, but I got them both in. And they are people that boost me up every day. Being around all three of them, they are so high performing that I walk in and just say, I need to step my game up to be around them, right? And I think that's an important thing, is that high performing teams don't just execute, they elevate. They elevate everyone around them, right? They motivate. So you're in that company and you just say, I can't underperform. My God, I'm going to be embarrassed. I don't want to be the underperformer here. So you strive. And there's this mutual respect and this drive. I think one of the greatest things I don't know if it's a quote or just over time I realized this, that the most successful relationships, especially in business, but in personal life as well, are the ones where both people feel like they're getting more out of the relationship than the other, right?
That's
and
great.
that's like that's a massive win, right?
Yeah,
if I think I'm getting the most out, you think you're getting the most out, it's like, wow, why are we not working together, right? So that's good stuff, and I have that every day as a motivator. I try to create and foster that environment for my team, for my guys, to give them opportunity to grow, to give them the resources they need to learn and advance their skills. And I've been very fortunate, and I think that's great, having the right people around. Your trajectory, anybody can look at their trajectory, I believe mostly, look at the people they surround themselves with, and you're gonna have a very good indication of where their trajectory is.
It's collaboration.
Yeah, no doubt.
If you have a group that collaborates, you're golden.
Yeah, that mutual respect and support and encouragement, everybody wants to see everybody else succeed. That stuff is just contagious, right? I think, a counterpoint to that, which is so important, and I think some of the best experiences I've had came from the worst experiences, toxic people.
Oh,
right?
Man. Yes.
People
we talk about that.
Naysayers and toxic people.
Oh, man.
Can't stand them. And look, that's different than saying someone is an individual that is happy with just kind of a basic existence. They like to have their personal time. They want to do. I'm not saying anything about that. Everybody decides what their own success is, right?
Correct.
What they want to achieve. But I'm talking about people that are just negative attitude, that drag you down, they'll bring everybody else down. So what do they say? One bad apple can kill the bunch or destroy the bunch,
destroys
right?
the whole bushel.
That's so true, right?
Yes.
So I had an experience, and I got to be very sensitive about this because the person I'm about to talk about is extremely litigious, and even though
no
I know
names.
Even though I know I would win in any legal battle as I have in the past, I still, it could cost me a lot of money. I think understanding you can fail and then recovering from that is the most important thing. Correcting your course, you can always correct your course, and I think we did that, and that's I think a really important aspect of teams, right? Don't let those kind of people pull you down.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, and it's all about communication.
Yeah,
it's all about, and we've talked about this when we talk about AI and so forth. That the one thing AI can't do is have soft skills.
Yeah,
it's not a computerized thing.
I thought it was really interesting when you interviewed Peter Hornberger, Professor Hornberger. I thought it was, he had some great insights, and you also on some different ones, and maybe that one as well. And when he interviewed you, you talked about a few concepts there that I think are so true, and I wonder what the general public, whether the general public really understands these things, in my view. So I think first is to kind of just set the tone. What is AI? Because a lot of people talk about this, throw this term around, and I think right now most people think of generative AI, ChatGPT and Grok and whatnot, but AI is really just essentially machines doing tasks that have historically required human intelligence, right? So that's the baseline, very simplistic terms. That means recognizing patterns, learning from experiences, and making decisions, right? Kind of fundamental.
Right. But it also means that initially human beings had to put that in there.
For sure.
Right?
For sure. But what we're trying to do is, and especially the in older AI, right? So AI's been around for decades. And when you look at it, it's really basically algorithms that we set up that could learn from data, recognize patterns, and then make predictions based on those patterns, based on probabilities and patterns. And so that's been embedded in things like your credit score, your recommendation systems like Netflix and Amazon. Why would you want to buy this? Or what's the next movie? That comes from those kinds of algorithms. And fraud detection, why your email goes and says, hey, this might be fraud, right? So those kinds of things have been around for decades. What's changed is the capability. The ability of, through advanced computers and GPU processing capabilities, we now have the capability to go beyond those basics now. And when you talk about most people, and again, AI, they think of generative AI. And so generative AI, the difference is it analyzes and makes that analysis, but it can do much more. It can actually generate original content. It can create, and that's not something we had before with the previous AI, the machine learning generally. And so with that, though, people now seem to think, oh, it's the answer to everything. And it's not really. And one of the concepts that both you and Professor Hornberger talked about was it has now created this kind of universal availability of knowledge. You have a pocket, in your pocket you have your iPhone, and you have essentially the entire knowledge of the human race of history. So knowledge is now cheap and it's readily available. But what's missing is the wisdom part. And the wisdom is, to me right now, and I think it will last for quite some time, the differentiator. The people that understand that the generative AI is not the answer, it's a tool for knowledge, and then you need to bring the wisdom part to it to make it successful. Yeah, I think that's a critical aspect. Often when I talk about that to especially younger people, I guess when I talk about wisdom versus knowledge, I don't think they really know what the two, right? They kind of mesh them. And so I often use the analogy of cooking, that in cooking, the knowledge part is the recipe. You know what ingredients, you know exactly how to put them in for what? For the best flavor that most people think is the best flavor, and how to mix them, when to mix them, how to cook them. That's the recipe part. The wisdom part is the nuance part that you don't have in just that knowledge base. And that is, my grandma's coming over and she has diabetes, I need to take the salt out. Or my friends are coming over who love spicy food, I need to put the hot sauce in. that's the nuanced part, the inside information that makes that knowledge more applicable. Now, admittedly, AI has come a long way. You can now feed in that information about your grandma, what her medicine is, and it'll know that you got to take the salt out, or your friends like spicy food, but it doesn't know that you saw that he was eating Tums and you maybe don't want to give him the hot sauce, right? So that's the stuff that, now you take that and put it in the context of business. Computers and AI are going to be able to accelerate lots of work, lots of information, and bring that plans and all kinds of things. But the people you need, the humans, to be able to have that connection and to be able to communicate and to encourage and articulate and get buy-in from stakeholders. Ultimately, that emotional intelligence, right?
Yes.
To understand how you have to deploy it and how you have to get people to buy into these kinds of things. And that for me is going to take, my perspective is it's humans until we get to AGI, which is essentially artificial general intelligence, where the systems become as smart as us, or ASI is where they, artificial super intelligence, where they're beyond us. But I think that's still a ways off.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Because I remember when faxes came out and everybody was freaked out that the fax is going to take, it used to be you'd send a letter and they say, you'll have it within the week.
Yeah, right.
And then they say, well, fax it over. It's like immediate. And I remember my mother saying, and I may have mentioned this before, she said to me, when technology started to take hold, she said, I'm glad I'm old. I'm glad I'm old. I wonder what it's going to be like for you guys.
I often think about that. I remember before my father-in-law passed away, and we were looking at kind of what technology changed over his course of his lifetime, and my goodness, the things that we take for such baseline granted now, there was just nothing even, this is future space stuff, right?
Yes.
And actually truly future space stuff. We got people in space. There was no idea that could have been a place that we would go. But it's amazing how the world and technology changes. And I think, there's a lot of concern about, is AI going to take everybody's jobs away? And I have a couple of kind of critical aspects to me or perspectives on that. One, I don't think right now AI is going to take everyone's job. It's going to take some people's job. Yeah. It's definitely going to automate some people's jobs out. But technology's been doing that forever. People realign, retool, move into other things. So I don't think it's completely disastrous.
It won't be your plumber, and it won't be your electrician.
The trades. And right now, because all these supercomputer data centers, this is like a massive place to go. Be an electrician, right? Be in construction. You can make good money. So I think that's a legitimate path to go and be really successful. But ultimately, I think it's not going to take everyone's jobs. Now, what's going to happen is, if you're not leveraging AI, someone else who is going to take your job, right? AI might not, but someone else is going to, right?
Yes.
So that's why I would think it's probably the most important thing for a person right now, anybody, any age, to be curious. Curiosity, I think, is so underrated, but be curious, always strive for self-improvement and to learn and understand new stuff. And it might be overwhelming, but that kind of reinvention, the constant reinvention of understanding the latest in technology or whatever it is, whatever interests you, but technology, because that's my space, I think you have to do that if you want to stay relevant.
And you have to listen.
You have to listen.
Because, as I like to say, you already know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
What you don't know is what people are going to tell you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. They talk a lot about that, different types of people. And really, if you're not consciously listening, if you're already, while someone's talking, you're thinking, what's my next thing I want to say? You aren't then present. And I want to give a shout out, I don't know why I'm doing this, but to a friend of mine. His name's Joe Gallagher. He is the most curious person, like on an individual personal level. He's very successful in business, but he is the most curious individual person I know. When he meets someone and he asks how you're doing, he actually is genuinely interested in how you're doing, right?
Right.
And then
That's
when you talk
great.
about it and you say, well, my cousin's brother, his son's, trying to get into college and he's going to get a scholarship. He wants to be in business and such, but he's striving, whatever. he'll come back 2 years later, see you at a party, only spent 10 minutes with him, and they'll be like, did that ever work out with your cousin's brother's middle son? Did he get that scholarship? And you know what? I have a guy who's looking for somebody who's got a job opening, because it creates opportunity, and people feel that. He draws people in. He's the most networked person, and not because he's out there trying to give his business card out to get networked. He just genuinely cares about people that's interested in their story.
That's beautiful.
Out of nowhere, he'll talk to people. He's at the train station. He's sitting at the bar. He's sitting at the restaurant. He's walking down the street. He just talks to everybody. I am so enamored by him and his ability there. I have to actually strive to do it. I got to remind myself, okay, no, actually listen. Don't think about what I want to say. Just listen.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. You were talking about wisdom and age and everything, and how I listened to my grandfather, who went through the same thing. He lived to be 100. So he went from the sort of invention of flight to people landing on the moon.
Yeah,
right?
that's a big step, man.
Big
Huge,
step.
right?
Yeah, and automobiles and the whole bit. And he was an engineer. So I learned so much from him, and I learned so much from my father, and I learned so much from the elderly people in my family.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm no kid, right? This whole podcast was the idea of my students.
That's awesome.
They said to me, you should start a podcast. And I said, okay, you know, but I used to have one 10 years ago. That came from my students. And then I said, but I don't know all the new things now.
Yeah.
Who's interested in working with me? And they passed around a piece of paper, and they wrote the names of each person wrote their name and what they could do. And I said to them,
wow,
I cannot work with any of you while you're still my students, right?
Interesting.
It's unethical.
Yeah.
So I said, when you graduate, I will contact you. And that's what I did.
That's
and actually,
great.
I'm working with some of them now, and they came up with the name for this podcast.
I like the name, yeah.
Digging for Gold.
Yeah.
They said they voted on it. They had other names. They voted on it, and they came up with it. And to me, I was so proud of that. I'm always proud of my students.
Yeah.
I'll do anything for them. They know that. It's just their curiosity, and hence my curiosity with them, because they're a lot younger, but they know a lot more about certain things than I do. Technology, for one thing, you know, how to do all these different things. And I work with some of my former students. It's a very cool thing.
I think the what you just said, the part about learning from them, something that really kind of surprised me a bit. I started an internship program, and I wanted to bring in some young people to work in specifically in this AI. I'm developing a new tool that's going to be a AI financial operations treasury professional AI hub, and it's going to be a facilitator enabler for using AI like power prompting and agents, custom agents, and database of financial information that can then be used in a RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, to enhance the use of AI, to find information together, to analyze it, and to deliver it to improve their situation, make them stronger, faster, better at their job. And I needed some guys who were young and had the knowledge, because actually the younger people seem to be much more up on this. And so I brought in some young guys, and it was almost reverse mentorship. So my guys were teaching them about business and, you know, and the corporate environment and what do you do and how's this work and projects and leadership and all that kind of stuff. And they were teaching my guys about AI and how you use these tools and ways to think about it. So cool. I think this is such a pivotal point, I think, where we are. So younger people are quicker to take advantage of and utilize these tools, and older people not so much, but I think it's critical that they need to, or they will become obsolete very quickly.
Yes.
I really think it's so important now.
It's interesting because one of my groups in one of my classes wrote a whole thing about digging for gold and what they would do with it, and how they would enhance it and how they would help it grow. And my editor is a former student, and the person that's working on some other aspects is a former student. And I was reading it, and I said to my wife, "You got to read this," because I printed it out. And she went, "Wow, that makes so much sense." And I don't know, you know, half of this stuff that I should do this, and I'm implementing it, and I really appreciate that. It's the reverse mentorship. They're teaching me things I'm unaware of.
I'm working with a young guy right now who's working very closely with me on developing this tool. His name's Nick Westberg. And he was in insurance. And he's a young guy, young 20s. And it wasn't really rewarding for him. And over the last couple of years, he has just spent essentially every waking moment drilling into learning, whether it's in Reddit or on videos and training courses, just consuming as much information as he could in this space. And now he can find anything. I mean, you've come up with a topic. He can go find the latest, greatest information. He's just accelerating. He's using tools, Claude Code, which is a coding mechanism for building code. He's not a developer, but he's writing code. We're writing this program together, these programs, and he's doing that all just by driving, individual drive. He left his company, and then he was working for me as an intern, and then came to work for me as a contractor now. And he's just doing great work. And I mean, I'm in awe of how quickly he's finding information and leveraging it and bringing it to value. And he's sending me texts all the time. Oh, look at this, look at this. I'm like, wow, that's really great. But make a note over there. Let's go back and get that later on, right?
That's great.
It's cool stuff. I'm like, okay, we got to focus though. We got to stay on this. But that's really shiny. Let's go back to that later on, right?
I got it.
So it's terrific stuff. And I love that enthusiasm, right? And I've always had that passion. For me, passion for what I do, like the getting up every day.
It's the resilience. It's the growth that you talk about here.
It is.
And the learning.
It's so foundational for me. To be honest, when we sold our company the second time around in 2021, my partner's retired, but I was not ready to retire. I've worked literally 16, 18, sometimes 20 or more hours a day. Absolute literally, I do that. I've been doing it for 25 years. Everybody thought I couldn't keep it up, but I love what I do. I'm excited about it. And I lost the enthusiasm. After we sold and I was no longer an owner, I kind of drifted for about a year and was trying to figure out, do I just retire and just sit around? And I knew that was going to depress me. I just spiraled downward. And it took me about a year and a half. And that was late 21, 22, into 23, which was about when AI came around, right? And I saw that. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I just started drilling in. I'm like, oh, that's cool, right?
Great.
And it started to pick the passion back up. I found something that rejuvenated that in me. Then I went and took first I took online courses galore, certifications, everything else. Then I went and took a program at MIT, AI for effective decision making. That was like 4 months long. I had to go back. I had to learn programming and Python and all these other things just to be able to take the course to be able to get everything I needed out of it. So I did that last year. Then this year I took AI for senior executives, which is 4 or 5 months course, and brought together. We went to MIT, up to the campus, and with like 70 people, and just some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And then we have this cohort, and we're on the phone all the time, and we're doing these sessions. And I just got so much out of it, and I was so passionate about it. I brought that to my business, right? And I went to my leadership and said, guys, I know we're doing these things. I want to be involved, and this is not my domain because I'm manager or the managing director of Treasury Services. I said, but this is interesting to me, and I really want to be a part of it. And fortunately, they pulled me in. I'm an advisor to the executive board on operational AI, and I'm building these tools, and I have support because they see the passion I'm bringing to it. They see the insight I'm bringing to it, and we're building great tools internally in managing our own processes, all these AI agentic processes, and for our clients. We're embedding these tools, the latest and greatest, most advanced tools to bring solutions to our clients. This is exciting stuff. I mean, how can you not get up in the morning and be like, oh, I can't, my alarm, people talk about putting a snooze. I'm like, oh, goodness, I got to get working.
I get it. Yeah. And, it's like a rebirth.
Yeah. Oh,
it's a rebirth.
Complete.
I get it because, and I may have mentioned this in a prior podcast, when I sold my company, the first company, Four Eyes, I was walking down Walnut Street in Philadelphia.
Saw one of your stores?
I was walking past the store, and I ran into a friend of mine, and she said to me, basically, what's wrong with you? And I said, what do you mean what's wrong with me? She said, what are you doing these days? I said, nothing. I sold the company. She said, you look like crap.
That's
she
the
used
problem.
another
You're
word.
You're doing nothing. You need to be doing something. Yeah.
She said, you look like crap. She used another word. And she said, start a new company.
There you go.
Start a new one. And I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know. I've seen your resume. Quite impressive. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And that's
some people are just like that, though.
Yeah,
they
you
just
can't.
need to be striving and pushing and challenging themselves. I mean, I love every aspect of it. I love every aspect of being an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, right? I love the hunt. I love the risk. I love the drive. I love encouraging other people. I love persuading other people. I love building teams to deliver solutions. And at the end of the day, when you deliver something and the person you deliver it for goes, wow, thank you.
That's
You're
it.
like, all right,
That's
you
it.
know?
That's it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, sometimes I'll get up and I'll be a little tired. And I got to get in. I got to get over. And my wife will say to me, but you love it.
Yeah.
And I said to her, you're right, I love it.
Yeah.
That's
It's
it.
reality.
Yeah, it is.
You know, interesting thing, though, I think the performance, right? Back to this performance I talked about, that I'm really performance-based.
Yes.
It's critical to me that people are striving and succeeding. Not that they have to succeed at everything they do. Failure is part of it, right? As a matter of fact,
Absolutely.
when I was young, I had very much imposter syndrome because I came up in not bad family stuff. I had great family stuff, but I created challenges for myself. My brothers and I, drugs, alcohol, fighting, police, lots of that stuff. And I didn't do well in academics in school, so I went off the path, right? The shortest path between 2 points is a straight line. Nobody in my family took the straight line. We were all late bloomers. A lot of addiction. Actually, all three of my brothers in program now. Most of them decades in program. My father was alcoholic, 40 years in program. They all started late, but they did great things. And they're terrific members of the community. They're all successful in their own right in all their businesses and endeavors. So I'm enamored and proud of what they've achieved. But I took a circuitous path to get to where I needed to go. And I think performance, or that fear of the imposter complex, is that I didn't want to let anybody see that I could fail, that I had these faults, right? So I was hiding them all the time. But as I learned going through business, it's like failure is the way you learn. That's the way you grow.
Absolutely.
It's not only something not to be ashamed of. It's like a thing you need to have that if you really want to grow into something who's experienced.
100% agree.
Massive, yeah.
And I'll say this, I think so many people have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
They do. It's
Yeah.
like you go through life and you go, how'd I get here?
I only think I just got rid of it last week, honestly. I'm starting to think maybe I'm not really faking it.
I
might be doing it for real. This might actually, or I faked it long enough that I'm actually believing myself now. I don't know. Either way, it seems like I'm getting more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's I go through it. You know, how did I get my doctorate? I wrote all these books. I did this. I did that.
Right.
It's like,
right.
when
You look
I
at all your
flunked out of
credentials,
school-
like, come on, the imposter syndrome just doesn't fit for you. You know, how can you do that?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Good
and
stuff.
then we got it. It's it's as you were saying. There's all these circuitous routes, but we know what the not to be morbid, but we know what the trip really is.
Yeah.
You start off, you end.
Yeah.
Right.
In between, you try to make the best of it.
That's it. That's it.
But everybody figures out their own best of it, right?
Correct.
It's really important because my what I believe is success for me is totally my thing. It doesn't fit anybody else's mold. It's unique to me, and it might be just completely counter to what other people, I know plenty of people have totally different, they're like, why would you work 20 hours a day? You made all this money. Why don't you just take it easy? I'm like, that to me is the absolute worst, is the take it easy thing. I get rejuvenated. I get juiced. I get up and feel positive. I feel my self-worth. I feel like all these things I'm achieving, they give me motivation. Why would I want to sit around and do nothing, right? So,
it's interesting to me. I always thought that retirement, even my grandfather, who lived to 100, he really never retired.
Yeah.
He sold his business when he was 88, but he still kept working. It's almost like you retire, you're waiting for death.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Got to do something.
I mean, look, the further you go, the more money you make, the more you have available, the more things you can do and enjoy, and you certainly need to make time to do that. So I do and already achieve that. I travel a lot, my wife and my family, and I love those experiences. But the work thing to me is again, I couldn't see just sitting around. I mean, I love vacation, but man, once you get past 10 days, to me, I'm like, that's actually a really long time. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Yeah, I got stuff to do. I got things on my mind. That's interesting stuff.
The first 3 days of a vacation, you're like tired and you're getting ready, and then the middle 4, it's like, okay, I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
And then the last 3 is, I got to get home. I got to do this.
Yeah.
So it's, that's for me, and it seems like it's for you.
Yeah, I'm not real good at really taking the vacations 100% anyway either. It's like, I'm always, okay, I'll be right back. I swear, yeah.
You're the guy who's walking down the street and doing this.
Unfortunately,
saying, okay.
right.
Yeah. So as you're growing and building, you've sort of laid out the type of people you're looking for, you like to work with.
Yeah.
How do you put the team together? What's the route that you take to put the team to bring them in?
Yeah.
To have them all understand your vision, your mission, your values.
Sure. No, appreciate the question. Well, first of all, as I said, I'm constantly on the lookout for people that show that drive, that enthusiasm, and you'll know them. I mean, you work on a project, and I've worked at so many places, so many different companies, and seen so many people at so many different levels and of motivation and what they're striving for and what they expect and how they go about their business, how they interact with people, and interaction is critical, right? And so when I come across someone like that, I make notes. And I'm like, okay, I keep track and keep in touch with that person. I want to work with them again. I know if I can bring them in, I'll do it. I do everything I can to try and bring those people around sooner or later. And I've been successful in that. I also believe in bringing in young people who you have good conversations with. You can feel, okay, this is a person, they've shown they can achieve, they've done well in school, they've shown that they're committed and they do sports or whatever, other things that show that they're involved. And so they can be a good team member. Bring them in and you want to try and build them up as much as possible. And then you build those teams by figuring out what little niche, how does each person fit, and how do people get rewarded? People feel rewarded in different ways, or what motivates them. Some people straight up money. Some people is they want accolades. They want you to be constantly telling them what a great job they're doing, or they want other people to know what a great job they're doing.
Right.
So you have to feel all those people out. You got to figure out how do you lead them, how do you give them that vision, and how you reward them to motivate them appropriately to the common objective. And I think that's just part of that comes from just experience. Again, back to the ChatGPT can't do that, right? That comes from working with people and the nuance of interaction. But I think, in that building the team, I think one of the things that's important, which is kind of a core principle to me, and I'm always embarrassed when I see people who are leaders or managers that do it differently. To me, a leader, a real leader, is loud when their people are successful and quiet when their people are not, right? To me, when you see a bad leader, they're yelling and screaming when their people fail or fall short. And when they're successful, they don't say a word about it. Me, I'm yelling from the rooftops. When my people are successful, I want them to get all the visibility, all the accolades, all the recognition they possibly can. I want them to get that visibility from upper management, from clients, from myself, from their peers. That's important to me. And when they make mistakes or they get off course, that's a private conversation. You bring that off to the side, closed door, and it's coaching. It's like, hey, we can do this better. I know, we can find a better path. And that's a totally different approach, right? And that builds loyalty, that builds respect. And the only way that you could get people to really perform at the level you want is to have that kind of approach. They have to know you're loyal to them. You're not going to embarrass them by calling them out, especially if you want them to take risks. If you're pushing your people to take risks and then you call them out anytime they fail or fall short, you're just setting yourself up for failure. You're never going to have anybody take those risks.
I totally
and so
agree.
For me, that taking risks is critical. So to me, it's all about taking away the blockers, right? The politics, the bullshit that's happening around here that might hinder them from achieving. Give them the tools they need, give them the resources they need, encourage them as much as possible, put them in a place with other people and build a culture that's all about everybody lifting each other up, and then let them run, let them be successful, and then give them the accolades, give them the financial rewards, give them the accolades, give them the credit and the visibility. I'm constantly talking to my guys about, hey, you need to post on LinkedIn. You need to be talking about the things you're doing. I want to talk about the things you're doing. You need the visibility. In your career nowadays, if you're not building a brand, you're falling behind. You
That's
could
it.
be the most intelligent guy, the most knowledgeable, and great, but if you're not building the brand and letting people know about it, so it's hard for some. They aren't real comfortable with self-promotion. So you gotta push them a little bit, right? You gotta get out there.
Yeah, I
Put
agree.
your brand out there, right? But that's an important part of ultimately building a team that will strive for you, that will work hard for you, that will push for you. And the performance thing is back to that, and I think I kind of started on this and I might have gotten sidetracked, but the performance thing is, to me, execution, achievement of what you say is the currency of trust, right? So if I tell someone I'm going to do something, I damn well sure I'm going to do it, right? I always say, and I know this is probably a common saying, or I think it's maybe a quote or something, it's like, say what you're going to do and do what you say, right? It's just simple, it's basic. But what you do is you get people to trust you when you do that. And that works with customers, that works with colleagues, that works with employees, that works with investors, that works with everybody. Once you perform and you prove it, they're going to support you. You get more flex, you get more investment, you get more support, and that gives you opportunity. Opportunity expands. You perform more, you get more of that. So it is so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, or this kind of virtuous cycle that gets better and better. And so that's the way I am with my guys, and I work with my leadership, right? I got COO and CEO, and they were new after HG came in. It took me a while to find my place, and this is when I was kind of drifting, right?
Right.
So I wasn't out there really trying to show myself, and then when I realized I wasn't ready to retire and I really kicked it in, I earned that respect. I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to grow this business. I'm going to drive this business. I'm going to open new lines of business. I'm going to sell. I'm going to close deals. And I did that. And what did they do? They gave me the support I need. They gave me the investment. They gave me opportunity. They gave me increased titles. They gave me increased roles. And I'm very appreciative to them. Axel Rabian and Oliver Gallian, my CEO and COO. I think they're great guys. They're visionary. They're driven, and I love working with them. I appreciate their support they give me, and I believe I know I give them what they need, right? I help them to be successful. They help me to be successful. And that's a great mutual respect working relationship. But that's the same thing with my team members. I'll do the same thing, and I try to give them as much opportunity, and when they're successful, I'm rewarding them. I'm making sure, because I want them to go further. I want them to do better. For them, it's not
always.
It's not. It's some altruistic. It's also I'm being selfish. The better you do, the better the team does, right? The better I do, the better we all look, the better, more investment we get, the bigger our team will be. All those things, they're all virtuous. They all fulfill a continuous progress and lifting everybody up. So those are fundamental concepts and principles to me that over 35 years of being in business, and it's important stuff.
I look at it like there's a poster I made years ago. Your word is the one thing that when you give it, you keep it.
Yeah,
it's the only thing that you can really think about.
I have heard that before. I love that. I want to hold on. I'm making a note of that.
I'll send that out to you.
Yeah.
Your word is something that when you give it, you keep it. It's the only thing, really.
Yeah.
Even when you love someone, you give them your love, and you have that love. But it's different. When you give someone, you're telling them you're going to do something, and then you do it, and you keep it.
Like I said earlier,
That's
absolute accountability. I want people to hold me accountable, right? Because I believe if we set expectations and we set goals and then we achieve them, I should get recognized for that. My team should get recognized for that, right? Especially if you set high goals and you're setting your standard above everybody else and you achieve that, you need that recognition. That's going to get everybody else motivated. That's going to keep the people that are doing it motivated. And that's what you ultimately want, is you want people to be striving to do the best for the organization, whether you're an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, right?
Correct.
Striving to be the most successful you can, deliver the best product, the best customer service, the best solutions. It's all tied in together.
And it's also interesting because when you have a team, whether it's a group of students, whether it's your sales team or your management team, you're going to have disagreements within the team. They may even yell at each other, in a meeting, right? My belief is you let them do their thing, and then you pull them aside. Instead of freaking out on them in the middle, because then that means that you got into
that whole emotional cycle.
You got to stay calm,
Yeah.
let them,
Yeah.
okay? You can intercede with
Yeah.
saying, maybe that's not it, or maybe that, but you will have disagreements
For sure.
in teams. And when you allow that to happen and then bring it down to another level, they get to listen to you, and then they get to listen to each other.
Yeah.
That's growth to me, part of growth.
Yeah, for sure. I think a couple of things tied in there is that you talk about it in your interview about the emotional leader, right?
Yeah.
And how detrimental that is, right? Step back, take a breather, relax, breathe in, breathe out, wait 3 days, whatever.
That's it. Wait 3 days.
Wait 3
You'll
days.
forget about it.
Yep. And then come back. And I'm a passionate guy, and I can get a little riled up, and sometimes I can respond too quickly, and then go, you know what? Yeah, even a couple hours would have been good. Not 3 days, just a couple hours would have been helpful.
I get it.
I'm a little bit fired up. I should have stepped back from that a moment. But I think that managing without emotion is so critical, right? I do get passionate, and I can get riled up about things. But I think I generally manage with reduced emotion. And more just based on concrete facts and trying to identify what's the course of action to correct things if they're going wrong. So that's I think also a critical concept of if you want to work with teams and you want them to be high performing, if you're emotional and you got this roller coaster of like rah, 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 it's like forget it. It's you're never going to get them to be optimized. You're never going to get them to work kind of cohesively, uniformly, and work for you, right? You want them to be motivated for you as a leader. You want to set out a vision and identify the objective, and you want to motivate them, give them the tools, but ultimately you need them I like to lead from the front, but you need them to drive, you need them to run, you need them to push forward. And that only comes from when they trust you, when they have loyalty to you, and you show them loyalty to them. That's the only way you get the loyalty back.
Yeah, but you want it to be pumped.
Yeah, for sure.
You want it to be rock
I love
and
that.
roll.
I get on the weekly, monthly meeting, whatever it is, and I want people to walk out there going, "Oh yeah, wow, let's get back to work. I'm ready. I'm so excited. Next year's going to be awesome. Next quarter's going to be awesome."
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, and that's a different kind of emotion.
Yeah,
it's positive emotion. It's positive emotion.
Enthusiastic energy. That's fine. It's the drag you down. Emotional
and you will get that sometimes.
Yeah.
Some people will disagree with each other.
Sure.
But it's
and you have a bad day.
Yeah, you have a bad day.
Yeah.
Then you take them in another room, or you pull them aside and you say, "Listen, you guys, talk to each other.
Yeah, right.
What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah,
cool. It's not productive.
No,
yeah. It's
It's like I'll never forget when I was a kid, 130 years ago. This is after I fought in the Civil War for the North.
Nice.
I had a fist fight with a guy who was still a friend of mine to this day. But we fought. I was in high school. We fought and everything. And then afterwards, we realized, well, what are we doing? And we gave each other a hug, and we said, that was ridiculous. Okay. I mean, what were we fighting about? And whoever won, I don't even remember. But we said, we should never do that again. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you got to talk about it.
Yeah,
you got to get it out of your system.
Communication is so key in everything. I mean, interpersonal relationships, business environment, communicating with your customers, your vendors, your partners, your investors. I think it is so fundamental. And I think one of the problems with the AI thing, I think a lot, the way the younger people are using it, is, again, it's the answer, and they're using it instead of learning how to communicate and formulate ideas. They're like, oh, tell me how I write this email. And then they write the email. And they never bothered to formulate the ideas themselves. And okay, that's the quick answer to get it out there. But if you have to sit down with a conversation and have a conversation with someone, you have to impress an investor. You want to impress your boss. You want to get a customer to buy into your idea. You want to get a stakeholder to support some concept. You're not going to do that by asking ChatGPT to tell them an answer. You have to be able to communicate. You have to formulate ideas. You have to be persuasive.
No doubt.
And that only comes from practice, for one, not just going to ChatGPT and getting the answer. You have to be thinking about those things. So that whole thing back to about AI, if you're not using it as a tool that's supplementing you and really as kind of a partner to help boost you up, but that you're really still that human in the loop, then you're going to shortchange. You're going to deliver less value for yourself and for whoever you're with in the long term. I just don't think you can use it that way. It's like writing the paper. Okay, I got an A. Okay, did you learn anything about that? No. I wrote the paper. My teacher didn't even catch it. It was GPT. Okay, great. Wow, you really got by.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
I can pretty much tell when it's GPT because
especially the M dash.
Yeah,
Nobody used it until only ChatGPT came out.
Exactly.
No kid even knew what an M dash was. Now all of a sudden they're everywhere. You're like, okay, that's ChatGPT, no doubt.
Right. I try to make my papers about them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like they can't put that into ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's got to be their story
that's
about
the thing
them and questions about it, or what they think about the people they may watch on my podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like it's got to be personal, and it's a little harder for them to play with ChatGPT.
And you can see in people's writing when you look at things like LinkedIn and whatnot, when they write it straight out of ChatGPT. And I'm not going to say I don't use it. I definitely use the tool, but I use it as I have an idea, throw it in, I say, let's brainstorm on it. What are some cool aspects or different ways to perceive it? And then I bring in my own experiences. I'm like, I remember when I was on this job and we did this, or, that person did that. And these teams I work with, they're so great and they're energetic. And that makes it holistic. That brings the experience. And now you're just saying, hey, maybe ChatGPT can say it more concisely than me. I'm very much, if it's possible to say in 3 words, I'll say it in 30. I am verbose. I drag everything out. So ChatGPT just saves me from being like that and condense it down.
It's funny you bring that up because I have a tendency to tell my students, having run companies like you have, I said, listen to me. If you can say it in 5 words, don't say it in 10.
Yeah, and I'm bad at that. It's one of my worst traits.
And I got to tell people, if you got an idea and you write it on a paper and you want to give it to the CEO to look at it, do you think he or she has the time to read 15 pages?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yep.
2 pages.
You got to be concise.
Concise, brevity counts.
And I know it, but this is one of those, you get some things you're always striving to do better at. That's one I'm just very bad at. I've just thrown lots of word salad. I'm just throwing it all out there. Just
and it's
see
cool.
what sticks.
But if they know that, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
If they know that that's what you do, and
most people laugh about it. They're like, "Oh my God, Pete, another novel." It's like, and you wrote it at 3 a.m. Really? Did you really need 8 paragraphs? You could have just said, "Can we move forward?" It would have worked, right? I'm like, oh, okay, you're right. But I wanted to communicate all these other ideas. Like you didn't need to.
Cool.
Yeah.
But they know it.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
Here, read Pete's thing.
Right.
Okay, do I have to?
Just diatribe or whatever is the latest topic of interest.
Yeah, but it's all good, Peter. It's all good.
Yeah.
You know
so
what I mean?
Interesting. Jump the subject of kind of going back to something you've asked people at different interviews was there like this transformational moment when something happened?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this, and there was an event that happened very recently, something that happened to me that triggered. I found this paper that was handwritten, and it was about 10 pages long, and it said it was a critical self-assessment. And I wrote it in 1984, in hand, printed online paper. And I remember, so I was again on these 12 different jobs and whatever, not doing well, didn't do academics, got out of high school, worked in a U-Haul plant for a year, and I realized I didn't want to be working in the U-Haul plant the rest of my life. And ultimately, my friend and I, my best friend, Michael Crossan at the time, we decided we were going to change our lives. We were going to do something different. Now, neither of us were great students, and we got a book that showed colleges where it wasn't hard to get in. And in Alabama, it was a state school, and this is in the 80s. We were a DEI hire because we were north of the Mason-Dixon line. They were all Alabama. There was like no one there. We went there. There was one other guy from the north. That's it. And so we got in with our bad grades. We bought a $75 car. We drove to Alabama. It was at 12, 14 hours. The car broke down when we got there. We emptied our stuff out, and then we sold it to a junkyard for, I don't know, $10 or something. And then the next 2 years, we stayed there, and we excelled at school. And that was when I made the commitment. All of a sudden, I'm like, I'm going to change my life. And I just decided. And so this was the moment. That was the first paper I wrote. When I got there, I had a study skills class because I hadn't really studied in high school, so the first thing I took was, how do you study? I don't even know. And they had us do this self-assessment. I went back and read it, and it went through, my family, drugs and addiction, and my mom, and what a support and role model she was, and how much she gave me my emotional intelligence and really helped me to become a compassionate individual, and then my motivation and where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And I set out this plan. I said I was going to be an entrepreneur. I was going to be successful. And I actually said I wanted to be a financial advisor. And I told you, I was doing that from the time I was young. I set it out in '84. And then that paper got put away in some box somewhere. And I found it only just a few weeks ago, pulled it out. And I'm like, looking at that now, I'm like, wow, that was like my manifesto. That was my charter of what I was going to do, the path I was going to go on in '84. And in 1993, I graduated, became a financial advisor. Then I went and started my real estate business. Then I went and started E5 Solutions. Then I went and grew it and consolidated it with these other companies. It became Serrala. I mean, to me, I look back on that, and that was a transformational moment. It was one where I made a decision that I was going to change things. And it wasn't based on the success of the past. It wasn't like, oh, you've proven you can be successful. I just decided I was going to muscle my way through. And it still was a circuitous path. Of
course, always is.
But an interesting one that gave me a lot of experiences that I think helped formulate who I am and my view of the world and whatnot. So I'm glad I had those sidetracks. And I don't look back on my youth and think, oh, I wish I had done it differently. It's who I am. It's where it came from, and ultimately, I'm happy with who I am. So I can't really look back at that and say I wish it was too much different.
Regret is just a negative emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, why have it? You can't change anything. No. It's like people who did, and I've said this before, rotten things to you, and what are you going to do? You're going to hate them forever? Then they're controlling you without them even knowing it, and they're just in your head. Peter, this has been great, man.
No,
I want to thank you
so much.
Thank you.
No, it's amazing. Thank you for having me. It's been a great talk.
It's my pleasure. This has been terrific.
What a pleasure. Yeah.
Folks, Peter Wolf, Serrala.
Pleasure.
Just great guy. This has been a fantastic episode.
I love the conversation.
Great show. It's great. We will see you next time on Digging for Gold. And remember, use your mind. If you don't, others will. See you next time.